What's the darkest thing a family member has ever done to you? When I met my girlfriend, she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever lay my eyes upon, but I heard that she had dozens of red flags, ones which I really tried to ignore. It was hard. I remember staying up all night, thinking about how this one guy had told me her dad was dying and she was sleeping with every guy on campus to heal. Another time, I heard she was absing her half-baby brother. Meanwhile, my girl best friend told me Maggie was a really sweet girl and I needed to give her a chance. So, I did, and it ended up being the best decision of my life. She was an angel, because her dad was actually dying, but she was fighting for custody for her half-brother Charlie, so she could raise him. And within months of going out, I already wanted nothing more than to support her during parenthood. But this is the sad part, because there was one red flag that I never mentioned, except it's one of mine, not hers. My stepmother, Harper. She is willing to hurt anyone and anything to get what she wants, including young children. And she hated Charlie, like, with her whole heart. Because Harper never stopped seeing baby Charlie as a tool Maggie somehow used to baby trap her way into the family. And these accusations only intensified after our biological son was born, so we always try to avoid leaving her alone with them. But last Sunday, when we had an event to attend, we had no other option. So unfortunately, me and Maggie agreed to let Harper and my dad babysit. When we returned, all hell had broken loose. Both kids were trembling and crying, in a way I had never heard before, almost as if they were in pain. My dad looked exhausted, and was in the midst of trying to calm everyone down. And while my head was spinning, I noticed red on the shirt of my baby. Well, he was lucky my kids were watching, because if not, I would have beat the life out of his good-for-nothing wife Harper until she begged for forgiveness. So instead, I stood there with my fists clenched and a murderous look in my eyes. Immediately, my dad came clean. He told me that Charlie had been crying a lot, so Harper disciplined him the only way she knew how, splitting his lip open. My mouth literally dropped. I couldn't help but fantasize about hanging them both from a tree, especially when I heard the BS explanation of what made her lose her cool in the first place. You see, me and Maggie were due to get married, and while we were gone, Charlie simply informed Harper that him and our son would both be ring bearers in the wedding. And apparently Harper couldn't fathom the idea of letting a 4-year-old boy be happy, because in her eyes, with her clinically insane brain, Charlie wasn't family, which made her lay hands on him. During her explanation, my dad did what any reasonable adult would do in a high-stakes situation. You better not stop her from attending your wedding, son. Don't forget who raised you. At this point, Maggie was walking towards the car with the kids, so I clocked him, again and again. And of course, his idiot wife Harper didn't do anything, because she only likes to lay hands on children who are 10 times smaller than her. In between my blows, he tried to declare that he wouldn't attend the wedding without Harper. I just laughed. I only stopped when he gave up on defending his R-worded wife. But after I left, he still tried to hurt me, except not physically. Instead, he convinced half of his relatives that Harper had tickled Charlie a little too hard, and I hit him for no reason. This includes my stepbrother, who blindly supports his mother no matter how many times I explain what actually happened. Maggie and I refuse to back down, though many of my cousins who are skipping the wedding are practically trying to force us into inviting hateful Harper. On the other hand, nearly all of Maggie's family supports our decision, though I had to hold myself back when one of her aunts suggested that Harper could just be lashing out because she doesn't feel welcomed. Honestly, I'm fed up with my relatives enabling Harper's behavior and constantly making excuses for her being abusive. Edit. I realized I accidentally deleted the paragraph where I mentioned that we pressed charges. We took Charlie to his pediatrician the next day and gathered every piece of evidence possible. Not only did we have photos documenting Charlie's facial injury, but through some incredible stroke of luck, we also had nanny cam footage. Some commenters correctly guessed that Harper hadn't been invited to our house, but since my dad hasn't gone anywhere without her in years, we've taken precautions. We never expected her to do something this horrific, but we've always been cautious about trusting her with the kids. The actual physical attack happened off camera, but there's footage of her screaming and Charlie crying both before and after the incident. She now has a child abuse charge on her record. We absolutely refuse to let her get away with this. I don't have to finish the story in this short, but it gets intense. Click the link or go to my channel to watch it.